Welcome back to Learn Your Stripes. I'm Ryan Guillory.
And I'm Michael Moran, and tonight we'll start with the result from our play from our previous audio episode, which is episode 31. And in case you missed it, episode 32 was a live stream, and that is still up on YouTube, so if you get a chance, go check that out. Ryan and I talked a little bit about just your questions and had a lot of fun. But back to the play. In the second possession of the first overtime, and the score tied, second and goal from the B6, A12 throws a pass to A88 in the end zone, and it's intercepted by B23. During the return, B56 commits an illegal blindside block against A12 at the B10. B23 returns the ball for a touchdown. Prior to the pass, A76 is flagged for holding at the B8. And as always, we ask for your ruling in high school and college, and in this case, who will be next to put the ball in play. So a little bit of a mislead here. In the high school world, as soon as B possesses the ball, an official should sound their whistle right away. The ball's dead in high school and overtime. A's possession is over. Hopefully, it would not carry on us to have a personal foul like that, because we would have quite a bit of a mess on our hands. So admittedly, this is a bit of a false flag from us. We kind of messed with you, so we apologize for that. But when B possesses the ball, the play is over. Now, the hold would still be in play, and I suppose B could opt to enforce it, but most likely they're going to want the ball. And we'll go on to the next overtime series. Now, in the college world, go ahead, Ryan, add something.
No, I think this is a really useful example in reminding us of the differences between high school and college, but especially at the high school level, whether it's tries or turnovers in overtime, that we need to be on the whistle quickly. While B can score in overtime in high school, it would take a very, very unusual set of circumstances where the ball has to somehow find its way back 91 yards in the in A's end zone, and B falls on it there for that to be a score in overtime in high school. So it's not impossible, but that's one of those, if you see it, please write in and let us know, because we would love to discuss that. So sorry to interrupt you there, Mike. I know you're going to discuss the college results here next.
Okay, so on the college side, the fouls will offset, and the series for A is over. We're going to take the points off the board as well for B. Now, this is a personal foul, but it's not a flagrant, unsportsmanlike dead ball or live ball dead ball. And you might have heard us use the term fuddle. This blindside block doesn't fall into that category. So if it's something like a targeting or a taunting, then we might be able to enforce that perhaps. But in this case, we cannot. And since that's the end of the first overtime, we'll go to the second overtime with B's ball in this case at the 25, just as they would have normally. And since it's the second overtime, we'll still go to the 25. We haven't gotten to the specific 2-point tries yet. So good one to think about. A little confusing. Good time to walk through that with your crew.
Yep, that's when you're talking about overtime procedures, especially at the college level, you have to know fouls that'll carry over and those that don't. And this is one of those discussions where, although a blindside block is an illegal blindside block is a pretty significant foul, not one that's going to carry over for us for overtime. We're really happy this week to be joined by Kris Loving. Kris is a Big Ten line of scrimmage official. He's been really kind to Michael and I and other officials in our area since coming here. He's really helped us out. He gets out to our JV games, our clinics, really helps younger officials and newer officials in this area. Great official and a great guy for us to have, both as a resource and as a friend in the area. And we're thankful that he's given up his time tonight. And I'll give it to Michael now.
I've had the pleasure of getting to know Kris really over the last year. Just met him. He attended our Heartland Clinic this past, early summer here. Was out at a couple of early spring scrimmages. Got to talk to Kris and just give me a few pointers on things. And really, I can't say enough kind things about him. He's just open and welcoming, and always happy to talk to him. So, Kris, thank you so much for being part of the show tonight.
No, thank you, gentlemen. I'm blessed and honored to be with you guys, and it's been a great year plus being in Indiana, and have felt very welcome. Appreciate more love and hospitality being here. So thank you. Looking forward to it tonight.
Yeah, thanks again, Kris. We're going to talk about a few things, both your officiating career, your experiences there, but we also know you're very active in your community, both with officials and beyond. And so I want to get sort of a big snapshot of both of your officiating experience, your experiences there, and then how you balance that with a lot of other things in your life as well. But perhaps the easiest way for us to start, as we'd mentioned, you're a line of scrimmage official in the Big Ten. I'm fairly certain that wasn't where you started out at. So how did you get started in officiating, and what has your journey been like?
Sure. It's interesting because my own journey has been very instrumental in the different projects and work I've done in the community, both the officiating community and just in the regular community. So I had a good friend, like a mentor, like a big brother back home from the Chicago area. And he'd been an official for a long time. And he'd talk about it every now and then, but never really made a push to recruit me. But he just mentioned little things. And it was years before it ever crossed my mind to want to do it myself. And honestly, it was like overnight. One day I just was like, I want to try being an official. I reached out to him and shared that with him, and he just directed me to like what website to register, where to get your uniform, equipment, where to sign up for camps and all that. I was excited. I was ready to go. I started, going to these websites and hit a huge barrier. The cost to register, the cost for the uniform, the cost for the camps. It just wasn't feasible at the time. And went back to him and let him know. It's like, hey, I'm still interested, but just can't really afford it right now. And honestly, like, I don't remember what he really said, but like a week or two later, I received a fresh pair of shoes in the mail and a shirt. I lived in Illinois at the time, so it was the Illinois High School Association shirt for basketball in the mail from him. And he just said, hey, I hope this can help you get started. And that was it. I mean, he was available for questions and, talk about situations and stuff, but he just kind of invested in me and was always there, phone call or text or email away. And I started with basketball, which is the sport I played. Did that for a couple years. And then I was at a all sport meeting one night, and the guy from football got up, gave his report, and said, if you basketball guys think you can officiate, you should try officiating football. And he was joking, just kind of just joking, having a little fun. But for some reason, that stuck with me. That planted a seed, and I was kind of like, you know what? Maybe I will try. And this was 2015, I think in the winter. And then in the summer, registered and did all that and came across an NFL camp for brand new high school officials. NFL hosted it. It was up in Minnesota at the Vikings training facility. And it was like very limited. I think 30 people got picked, and I happened to be picked for it. I went. Honestly, I didn't know any of the 5 positions. I didn't know what the uniform looked like. I didn't know pretty much anything about officiating football, just about nothing. And went to that 8-hour camp, and at least I left knowing the positions, having a very, very, surface level understanding of football officiating. But I fell in love with it the first day. Honestly, guys, similar to what you said about me, was the same experience I had with those guys. And I'm talking NFL, Big Ten. I mean, all the big people in that area were there, hanging out with us, answering questions, sharing stories, and just I felt like I was part of the family on day one. And so I fell in love with football right away, was blessed to, work that year, under varsity, high school stuff, youth football, worked one varsity game that year, and just loved it. Wasn't very good that year, but I had a lot of fun. And, just like anybody else, you start there, you get a little interested in going higher, started going to college camps and study groups and working JV games and, the whole nine, and just been super blessed, fortunate, and just it's just hard to describe just how many opportunities I've got early on and did well, then maybe get another opportunity, did well. And now today I am blessed to be in the Big Ten for year number 2.
That's fantastic. I mean, and I think that's a journey a lot of people, at least from the starting point, would have, maybe trying one sport and then finding another one where they really find their niche. Because I know Michael started with baseball. I started with basketball as well.
Okay.
But there's just something about football that once you get there, I understand exactly what you're saying. And I think Michael's the same way largely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Starting in one and you just find the niche. Yeah.
Kris, covering that somewhat, I know that you've had a lot of experience, as you said, moving up the levels, lots of different games, lots of different people you've met. What are some of the greatest memories that you've had to date in officiating?
It's so funny because most of them are honestly like off the field, off the court more so. A lot of games I've worked, I can like barely remember any of the plays, but I can remember all the laughs or all the stories, all the stuff that happened on the way or on the way home and at dinner. I would say a couple that stand out. I guess kind of didn't mention this, but I'm very, very strong in my faith. I am an ordained minister, and I know for a fact God called me to be an official and to excel in order to allow my light to shine and connect with people and encourage people along the way. And one really awesome experience I had just about a month ago, official locally that I met this year reached out to want to have dinner, just kind of connect and catch up on things and talk about the season coming up. Having a great time, going through dinner, talking about family and whatnot. And out of nowhere, he asked, he said, I noticed you talk about your faith a lot. Tell me more about that. How did that start or why do you do that? And it was just so rewarding for someone to, I guess, recognize my calling themselves without me saying anything and inquire about it. And I was able to share my faith journey with him and encourage him and pray for him and just, kind of get that confirmation that I'm actually doing this for the right reason and it's having the effect that I believe it is meant to. And so that was an awesome experience that only happened because of my officiating journey. And I say another one is being able to take my family to places we probably never would have been otherwise. I brought my family to bowl games and playoff games and things of that nature. That's so awesome to infuse my family with the officiating, two of my greatest passions that I have.
So, Kris, to this point, getting started, going through it, I heard you talk about kind of cost, and obviously, getting a gift from somebody like that. What are some things when guys see that cost barrier? What advice would you give them? Is there a way we can get around that, or is there other opportunities we can pursue? How do we kind of break that away so people can get those opportunities that you talked about?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm sure, no doubt, there's many people that would be excellent officials that ran into that same barrier, but didn't have that support system or even someone to share that with that maybe could, as you're asking now, give some alternatives. I would say certainly reach out to other officials that maybe they can, maybe they have equipment they can pass down to you, like in my case. Maybe they know of discounts or specials or, some places may order in bulk so you can get it for a better price. I myself, based on my story, have started a nonprofit organization called Save Our Sports, where one of our main focuses is to subsidize the cost for officials so that the cost will never be a barrier. They're willing, they're interested, they're committed. We're raising funds and raising partnerships so that we can make sure that's never the issue for someone, where we can help either with registration, uniform, equipments, camps, travel, whatever those costs may be. And there's other great organizations out there doing similar work across the nation. So I would say to overcome it, just reach out, ask for help. There's lots of generous people out there. There's lots of people that care and want others to join this great business and brotherhood. So I would just encourage people to not let that stop you, but reach out, see if some people around you can help you out, whether directly or connect you with the right people or places.
Kris, to follow up on that, I know here in Indiana at the high school level, new officials can get their registration, their license for free. The IHSA will provide that. But let's take the flip side of that. Obviously, there may be new officials who need assistance with uniforms, with equipment, with travel to clinics, to camps and whatnot. For those who may be listening or those we may be able to connect with, how would people get in touch and donate to Save Our Sports or to support your organization to help out in that mission?
Excuse me. Yes, you can. Probably the easiest way is reach out or check out our website, www.helpsaveoursports.org.
Okay.
It talks about our mission, our vision, talks about the different things we're trying to accomplish, and it has links to donate monetarily. There's ways you can volunteer to be a mentor or volunteer or an advocate. And then you can also refer people that you may come across to that we can hopefully help. And all donations are tax deductible. We are a 501c3 organization.
Okay, great. And that's www.helpsaveoursports.org?
Yes.
Okay. We'll make sure to put that in the episode description as well so people can have that link to follow.
Perfect.
So I guess we've talked about both new officials who may need the assistance and maybe people who may be in a position to provide that, whether it's monetarily, whether it's by time, by whatnot. I know this is sort of the question that literally 50 states are dealing with right now, but how do you find these new officials? How are you, whether it's Save Our Sports or just through the community, how are you finding, young officials, new officials that we can bring up and to help to be the future of our avocation?
That's like you said, that's the 50 state, infinite amount of dollar question. And it's funny because I've recruited, if you will, or at least connected with people in the most unusual ways. So one young man I met at the YMCA when I worked there, he was coming in to inquire about job openings at the Y. And, I was kind of asking him, his background and what he's trying to do. He mentioned he wanted to help kids and he played sports and so forth. And, I wasn't thinking about it right away. But then as I walked away, I said, let me see if he would be interested in being an official. And he was. He was all on board. He's willing to do some training, watch some videos, and he actually came to a couple games I worked, basketball games, and he's interested. So he's kind of on the path. Another young man I just met last week at the Indiana State football game. I was there watching the crew work, and I was on the sideline. And one of the players who was maybe injured or something, he saw me taking notes and walking around. He asked me like, "Hey, what are you up to?" I was like, "I'm here watching the refs." And he started asking some questions about officiating and, can you make good money? And, do you like it? And so forth. And he said, "Hey, can you take my phone number and, give me some more information?" And so, that's just two quick examples of like, You can just be in the community, just at the grocery store, picking up your kids, you at the park. You could just come across people anywhere and just put it out there. I would say the biggest reason, especially young people, don't do it is because they don't get asked.
Sure.
I think that's just the easiest answer. They just they don't know that they can do it, or no one, threw it out there to them. Hey, what you think about this? And these two did. They were interested. And if I never asked, maybe they wouldn't be. So,
Sure. Kris, I know we've been talking a lot about football. Does Save Our Sports work with, say, basketball or other sports as well, or is the focus right now on developing football officials?
the goal is certainly to support every sport, certainly every sanctioned sport, because we want to save all the sports and help all the sports thrive and be healthy and not get canceled and not get postponed and not burn out the officials and not have people working, year after year after year when they shouldn't physically and such. And so we do want to support every sport. Certainly more emphasis on basketball and football at this time, just because that's my most, where I had the most connections and most knowledge. But we have even received a grant to equip baseball, softball umpires. And so when that opportunity came, we certainly didn't pass it up. I reached out to baseball, softball people I knew, and we connected with the kids that needed the equipment, and we made it happen. So we're willing to serve whoever and however we can.
I think one thing that Kris is, I've noticed as I've gotten to know you the last year, this your outward presence, and I know this is an audio show, but Kris is wearing a Save Our Sports vest right now as we're talking, which I think is outstanding. I would encourage anybody, obviously the new listeners to our show, we appreciate you very much, but the veterans of our show that have gear that maybe it's a Save Our Sports shirt or an IFOA shirt, we're here in Indiana, or if you get a Big Ten shirt, maybe wear that stuff in public. Wear it with pride and be outward facing. You'd be shocked, conversations started like Kris, you mentioned, the grocery store, the park, on a walk, whatever, but wear the gear that you have and get those conversations going, and then direct them to, something like Save Our Sports that they can get plugged in and be that mentor, get their information for them. Kris just said he had a clipboard and a pencil and somebody asked him questions. And I think that's part of just speaks to who Kris is and just his outward presence. So, the work you're doing there is fantastic.
Thank you.
Kris,
and if
so
I could
far,
say too, if you don't mind me following up, and I know, so when I lived in Minnesota, I did the same kind of work under a different name. And I rebranded it when I got here. But I know one concern with like my local high school association and maybe some veteran officials was that they thought I was trying to like compete with the high school league or compete with the associations or compete with NASO or compete with NFHS. And honestly, we're literally a feeder program. Like we're pushing people to the entities that already exist. And part of our model is getting them registered in their state, getting them registered nationally, getting them registered with the things and the people and places that have existed and have been successful over the years. So I hope, others that are in this space can understand that I'm not competing with anybody. I'm actually trying to support and supplement the other great organizations doing this work and trying to recruit and retain and train and mentor. We're really just trying to point them towards the great work that's already being done.
And I think as people who know you or have come to know you, Kris, Michael and I can vouch that you're in this to help people, that, we're trying to develop officials. There's such a scarcity and such a lack that we can't really get into turf battles. And
Right.
We know that what you're doing, it's amazing work that's focused on developing, again, our avocation throughout the sporting world, but to bring up those officials who, let's face it, football is not cheap to get into. There's clips, beanbags, flags, whistles. There's all the stuff we think about right before we go on the field. We've had it for years at this point, but when you're first getting started, that's a big barrier to getting in. I know Michael did baseball baseball is expensive. The
It's the
equipment
most
there,
expensive.
it's a lot. Fortunately, starting out in basketball, I needed shoes and a whistle and maybe a coin or a backup whistle in my pocket. And obviously the uniform, but really there wasn't all the extra equipment
Accessories.
that goes
Yeah.
into the other sports. So it is a big barrier, and having a program like yours or others throughout the country, it's huge. It helps take away an unnecessary barrier that hopefully will lead to us building our ranks back up over time.
For sure.
Kris, I know you mentioned you're an ordained minister. You're working with Save Our Sports. You're a Big Ten line of scrimmage official. I don't know how you find time to do anything else, but are there other programs you're working in the community, whether it involves officiating, your work as a minister, or otherwise?
So during COVID, when everything was shut down, and especially sports was shut down, I had to find something to do, productive and things of that nature. So I leaned back into a skill I actually learned in church when I was younger, video editing and like graphic design work. And I kind of self-taught a little bit myself. And then I actually went to my local community college, got a couple certificates in digital marketing and communications. And I did some graphic design work, video production work, some social media management during COVID, which I kind of, once things got back going, I kind of put it on hold. And at the end of this summer, I relaunched it, and I'm getting back into that as I have a little more flexibility. Because you mentioned, I have a lot of things going, but I've been blessed to, as just recently, kind of be more on the entrepreneurial track versus punching the clock and doing all these things.
Sure.
So with Save Our Sports, I'm also doing that graphic design work, and it's under the name Loving Touch Productions.
Okay.
And so just trying to get that kind of off the ground again. Obviously, taking care of the family and doing my games, trying to go out, watch others when I can, and yeah.
For your graphic design work, is there a website for that, or a Facebook page, or somewhere for people to contact you if they want to get more information?
So it'd be lovingtouchproductions.com. And we do have all, Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all that, but you can connect from all that from the website.
All right. Well, Learn Your Stripes may be reaching out to you sometime soon for some design work.
Maybe we could use a little help there too.
Glad to help.
No, we're happy to do that. Kris, you brought up a little while ago all these things that you're doing, as well as finding time for your family. How do you have a specific? I know. I don't know the right way to ask this question, but I know I've heard officials say, I use these nights for rule study. I use these nights for family time, or from this hour to this hour, it's rule study. From this hour to this hour, it's family. How do you balance all of this in your life?
It's so funny because most officials I've met, they were officiating before they got married, before they had kids, before they started certain careers. And I'm the total opposite. I was married before I started officiating and had kids not too long afterwards. So it was very difficult in the beginning because, as you know, when you start out, you want to work as much as you can to get the reps, to get the experience, and even to prove to your assigners and stuff like you're available, you're ready to work. And so early on, it was tough because we had young kids. I'm out a lot at night. I was working, a 9-to-5 job during the day. So it was pretty difficult. However, I knew, and thankfully my wife was patient to know it wouldn't always be that way. It was just kind of the grind of early on. And then with time and experience and success, I'd be able to do more quality over quantity. And so that's helped a lot, where I'm not working, every night, 4 nights a week and all that anymore. And so I don't have a set schedule, kind of what you mentioned.
Sure.
I just try to maximize the time that I am at home. I know that's probably a vague answer, but my wife is extremely supportive and extremely understanding of the football season of me being gone at least one night, if not two, most weekends. And she's actually embraced it, and she's actually used that time away and that time to herself just to kind of do her own thing, enjoy her own free time. And when I'm back, it's almost like our time is cherished more.
Sure.
And so
Very cool.
I don't have a set schedule, but I would say when I'm not working a game or not doing like a crew meeting or COC Zoom meeting or something, required, I'm just at home, pretty much a homebody. We watch TV and movies together, nothing too big. We just do real simple stuff together. And I mentioned earlier, I do bring my family with me when I can. And so that kind of puts it all together. Anytime I can take them on a trip with me. They don't go to the games. They just hang in a hotel, but they really enjoy that. And it's a way to do the journey together. So it's it can be difficult, could be tiresome,
Sure.
but it's worth it. And again, if people are in a position to officiate first and know what that schedule's like and all that before they start a family, that's great. Or if you get to it later, like I did, just be honest and make sure you and your spouse, significant other, children are on the same page, that they know what you want, what your goals are. They know what it takes for you to get there. And if they're willing to, sacrifice with you, then great. If they're not, then maybe consider maybe slowing down your path or revisiting it later, maybe when the kids are older or something like that, because you don't want to lose your family for this.
Right.
As much as we love it, it's not more important than our family, not even close.
Right. And I think all of us, I know Michael and I, both of our wives are very supportive of us. And, we do have that grind sometimes where it's 4 days in a row, 5 days in a row still.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, it's part of it. And they know that's, come September, come late August, that's what it's going to look like. And as you said, it makes the time that we all have together, we cherish it more, right? I mean, it's valuable when you have that Sunday off or whatever to spend time together.
Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
As I mentioned, got married before officiating, and perfect example is our anniversary is on September 7th. So clearly,
Join the club.
right at the beginning of any football season that exists is going to be going on September 7th. And
Kris, I just wanted to say we brought
tremendous.
this up on this show before. So my anniversary is at the end of September. Michael's is the first week of October. The referee on our high school cruise in the Heartland is mid-October. None of us really had the foresight to say, hey, let's get married in like July or June or something.
Yep. March. So, I mean, as you can see, that's a factor. But again, I've been blessed. First of all, when I first started football, it's funny, I was off that weekend like 2 years in a row, just magically. I didn't ask for it off. It just worked out that way. And other years, we just celebrated either during the week or during my off week. And I'm blessed that my wife is totally cool with that. It's never been an issue. And even actually this year, we're not celebrating until the 30th, which is my first off week. But we're going to do it big. Now, I have a few game checks to kind of help out. And
there you go.
So we're going to make it work. And it's our 10th year. So we'll get to celebrate big. So.
Well, Kris, congratulations and happy anniversary to you and your wife.
Thank
I don't know
you.
exactly when we'll be done editing and be able to get this out, but it may be on or near your anniversary. Well, I guess we're 2 days away right now. So but happy anniversary to you and your wife, and
Thank
thank
you.
you for
Much
spending the time
appreciated.
with us.
We'll have it
tonight.
ready by the 30th. Don't worry. We'll have it ready by the 30th.
Okay, there you
Well
go.
before then.
There you go.
Chris, I know you recently you've been participating in the NFL developmental program for officials. What has that experience been like, other than just saying amazing or overwhelming or whatever those might be? But what has your experience been like going through that program and seeing that next level up?
Yes, this summer it was just like unbelievable to get the. I can share the story. It's such a funny story how I even got in. So received an email one day from a person I never heard of before. Um, such and such at NFL.com. So I'm like, whoa, what's this? And it said like it was just an email that to a lot of people. It said the upcoming Zoom meeting are these dates. Blah blah blah. But it's not mandatory you attend. And I'm like, first of all, I'm like, was this meant to go to me? Because it didn't say like, congratulations, you're yada yada, or welcome to this. It was just this email about a Zoom meeting. So I'm like, man, what is this about? So I asked a few people that I knew, and they were like, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm like, okay, well, I'll save the date. I'll be on the lookout for more information. Then I get another email that said like training camp schedule. And so I open it and it's like Detroit Lions training camp, this date, this is the crew, this is where the hotel is. And I'm like, what? And again, there was no like, congratulations, welcome, So I'm just like,
just
well,
business.
I guess I'm going to Detroit on August, whatever. And again, I'm asking around like, hey, and then finally I get an email that had like a roster of like Mackey Development Program roster and all the people and all the conferences. And I'm like, wow, couldn't believe it. Truly just great honor to be recognized and considered for that level. For those that don't know, the Mackey Development Program is a group of officials that work college that the NFL is considering as a hire at some point, and they train us NFL rules and mechanics. We go to training camp and work the mechanics and work the speed and work the level and get feedback. Some officials there work preseason games, and then in the off season we work the Senior Bowl and those postseason bowls. Again, just getting the NFL type looks and reps and training. And I was very fortunate that I worked in the USFL this spring. And so I actually heard a lot of the training. I heard a lot of the philosophies and actually worked the rules for 7 weeks in the spring. And so that gave me a little bit of an advantage and comfort level when I did work Lions training camp, because it wasn't my first time doing it at that level. So a lot of fun, learned a lot, met a lot of good people. We were fortunate there was a crew of us in the program, and then there was a actual NFL crew there at the same time working 2 different fields. So we got to have dinner with those guys and, just talk with them and learn from them and network. And so a lot of fun. It was great. Joined the Zoom meeting, of course. So I got the, official training that they were sharing. And now it's going to go dark during the season pretty much. And hopefully pick back up after the season with some of the Senior Bowls and all that good stuff.
So
That's incredible and well deserved.
The big takeaway
thank you, man.
For our listeners. Yeah, I think the big takeaway for our listeners, if you get an NFL email and it says it's not mandatory, it is mandatory. Go do it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
and if they ask you, can you make it? Just say yes, and you check your calendar later.
Yeah, and that's especially true at the NFL, but I think at our level too, when you're trying to break in, if you get an email that says you're working here on this date, I'll share a story. One time I was white hatting a JV game, and I sent out an email, and the response I got from a guy was, I forget which position he was assigned at. And I don't assign them. I just get told, here's your crew for this day.
Mhm.
And the email I got in response was, I didn't sign up for that position. Like, well, uh, there's two options here. You work the position or you don't go. So there's a right way and a wrong way. The right way is what Kris said. When you're told to go, you're going to be on this field at this game on this day, regardless of the position, you're out there. That's the right answer.
Yeah. I tell people when they say, hey, I need you to work line judge, the response, the theme of it should be, I've always dreamed of being a line judge. I've always wanted to do that. Like, that's the attitude you got to have when they want you to do something. It's like, oh, I've always wanted to do that. And then you prepare, you ask questions, you watch film, you do whatever you got to do to not make it look like it's your first time.
Right. Yeah, or if you get I got a call last year from our boss asking me if I can work back judge, and my response was, of course I can. I'd never worked back judge in my life up to that point, but I got in the book for it. And I know from what you said, Kris, that's what you do here, right?
Hey, that's what you got to do. Yep.
I'm going to share one other just very recent memory with Kris. I just having found out that you had just been in the Mackey developmental program and had worked at the Detroit Lions camp. I was coming off the field after a scrimmage at a college in Indiana, and I had a text from Kris because I was going to be working a JV game at a Southern Indiana college later that week, just asking what time we were going to be there, because he was going to come along and look at the crew. And it was one of those things where you kind of put in your mind, like, this is a guy who's at a really high level and is giving back to those of us who are many levels below. But that's because the work that you're doing, Kris, you're trying to develop officials. And so that means going from NFL fields to high school fields to college fields for those, some midweek JV game somewhere in rural Indiana. And I know that I really appreciate it. Michael does as well. And our whole community around here appreciates all you've done for us and are doing for us.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. And like I said, man, and I'm not being negative, but I didn't have the most like welcoming and like friendly experience before where I was before. And I mean, I didn't know what to expect when I got here, especially knowing that I was coming in as you mentioned, quote unquote, higher level. So you never know. People may be like, who is this guy think he is? Or, who is this guy? So I wasn't sure what to expect of how received I would be, and also how received any help I would try to give would be. And so, I mean, I'll keep saying it, that from day one, I felt welcome. I felt respected. I felt cared about, cared for. And that's helped, because I was going to do all this stuff anyway, or try, but it's so much better when the help that you're giving is appreciated and received and, warranted. And so it's been a privilege for me. I learn stuff when I go out and watch. I pick up stuff when I see, like, oh, okay, I never did it that way. And so it's helping me too. Hopefully I'm helping others, but it's helping me. And like you said, it's hopefully helping the whole community, because you guys maybe I'll say something to you that'll help you. You'll go watch somebody, or you'll work with somebody. You'll share that with them. Then they can pay it forward. Then they can pay it forward. The next thing you know, we got the best officials in the country. So, let's keep paying it forward is my biggest ask. Like, don't let it stop with yourself.
Absolutely. We certainly appreciate you, Kris. Kris, on behalf of Michael and all of our listeners, we appreciate your time. We appreciate all the information that you've shared. Some of the two projects that we've talked about where people can find your work is www.helpsaveoursports.org and lovingtouchproductions.com, www.lovingtouchproductions.com. If anybody wants to reach out to you directly, how can they contact you?
Sure. Again, thank you guys for having me. This has been a blast. It's been an honor to be here and share a little about myself and my story, and hopefully be a help to others in any way. And I say this everywhere I go: don't hesitate to reach out. I mean, can I talk at 2 in the morning? No, probably not. But just reach out. Obviously at a respectable time, or by email, and I can get back to you. You can hit me up at Kris Loving, KrisLoving at gmail.com. Or you can even give me a ring, 651-334-4163. So be glad to chat with you, help you out, talk through some stuff, pray for you. I mean, whatever I can do, I'm here. So appreciate the opportunity to share.
All right. Well, thank you again, Kris. Michael and I appreciate all you've done for us. We appreciate your time tonight, and we look forward to seeing you again very soon.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, Kris. Have a great night.
All right. Have a good night.
Okay. Thank you for joining us once again for another episode of Learn Your Stripes. As always, we'll leave you with a play to consider.
All right, fourth quarter with 10 seconds remaining. The score is A30, B28. 4th and 10 from the A15. The snap goes over A99's head. While the ball is rolling, A99 kicks the ball at the A2, and the ball goes out of bounds through the back of the end zone as the clock expires. And as always, what's your ruling in high school or in college? Down, distance, clock status, and who's next to put the ball in play.
We'll discuss that play at the start of our next episode. In the meantime, if you want to let us know what your ruling would be, or if you have any questions or feel we made a mistake, please email us at learnyourstripes@gmail.com. You can also contact us at learnyourstripes@gmail.com if you're interested in sponsoring an episode or advertising on the show. You can find us on your app of choice or obtain episodes at learnyourstripespodcast.com. Please also follow us on Facebook at Learn Your Stripes Podcast, on Instagram at the same name, and on X at LYS_podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, please tell your friends and rate us 5 stars and leave a review on your app of choice. And just to give them once again, the 2 sites that we discussed with Kris tonight were helpsaveoursports.org and lovingtouchproductions.com. We'll see you back here soon. In the meantime, keep learning your stripes.
Thank you, everyone.